Unfortunately, there's no steam.
Right, I'm going to get out your way, guys.
Yep, right here.
Thank you, Frank. Right, good afternoon and welcome to Flying Scotsman. My name's Terry, I'm one of the inspectors here on the Nene Valley. I've driven this locomotive on our railway line, but I'm not qualified to go out on the main line with it. So my experience was up and down here a few years ago. The purpose of me being here this afternoon is to hopefully give you an insight into all the controls behind me and what it's all about, and for you to enjoy a few minutes on the Flying Scotsman footplate. So let's start. When was she built?
100 years, 103 years.
What year was she built?
What is 1925?
23. 1923.
I was going to say 21.
You're in the driver's seat, so we'll go through your controls first. If you can see, by all means, if you can't say, and I'll step out the way. Right.
I wasn't in driving, he's bad enough in the car.
You see, this one here is what we call the regulator, and what that does, it controls the volume of steam going down to the pistons, which indirectly controls how fast you're going to go. So when you're going to start off with a train behind you of 13 coaches, you first of all with this, which we call the cut-off, determine whether you're going to go forwards or backwards, and you wind this round to full forward gear. Now if you think of a piston and the cylinder going up and down, sorry, think of the cylinder and the piston going up and down, that travel is considered to be 100%. So when you direct this to full forward, you're going to put steam behind the pistons for 97% of the travel, and then it cuts off, which is why that's called the cut-off, and then it redirects the steam to the front of it and drives it back. We have 3 pistons on this engine. They're all synchronized, so they're always under pressure, forwards or backwards. So like in a car, you wouldn't go all the way in first gear. So once the wheels are turning, the driver will start to adjust this cut-off to make more use of the expansive qualities of the steam. So when he's cruising along above 20, 25 miles an hour up to 75 the maximum, he will bring this cut-off back to as little as 15. So at 15% of the travel it will have steam, and then it will allow that steam to expand and get as much energy out of the steam as you can. Like you getting up to 4th gear or 5th gear, or in my car 6th gear. So that's the steam going down, that's the direction. Once we've got going, we've got to stop, and that's what that white valve is there. It's an air and vacuum valve, because this locomotive can pull vacuum stock such as we have here at the railway, or on the main line it will have air stock. So that's combined air and vacuum. The little black handle up there is a steam brake that only operates on the locomotive. So you would not consider, except in an emergency, trying to stop the train with 13 coaches just on the steam brake. It has its value because if you go back in time, when this locomotive was pulling freight trains, you would have what were called unfitted wagons. That means they didn't have brakes on the wagons. So you had to rely on that steam brake braking the engine, but also the guard's van at the back, the guard would wind his brake on, and that was your braking force. So they were limited to roughly 15 miles an hour, because all 60 wagons between the guard's van and the loco were unbraked, and that's where you get the dink, 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 dink as they all buffer up. So steam brake, vacuum and air brake, direction and cut-off, regulator. If we come across here, we're now looking at these 2 glasses, which are called the gauge glasses. And what they're showing, if you look at the line inside the tube, you can see it's across from the zigzags at the back. That's telling me these 2 tubes are full of water. Now the engine had its fire dropped, I believe it was yesterday, so it's still warm. But these 2, the fireman's job is to keep about 1/2 to 2/3 of a glass of water in the boiler. The problem with them is they both lie. Yeah. And the reason they lie is because when you're stationary it will show what it is, 2/3. When you're going forward there's a slopping effect in the boiler. So when you go uphill and the nose, the chimney is higher than the back, where's the water going to go? Lower. It's going to come to the back, isn't it? So this will go up, but it's false, so it's lying at you. And so will that one. When you go over the hill, where's the water going to go? To your front. So this will suddenly go from here down to here. And the fireman's job is to make absolutely sure he's got enough water in the boiler that it doesn't disappear down there, because if it does, you've got the heat of the fire and you can start damaging the boiler. The other thing he has to watch out for is, of course, the track isn't always level. When you're going around a right-hand bend, what they call the cant, the left rail will be higher slightly than the right one. That too will affect this water. So the one on the inside
one side will
of
be
the
higher
bend,
than the other.
that will, right, that
And
will
the
be
same
high,
on the other
this
way.
one will be low. So they're always lying. You've got to work out what they're trying to tell you. Now this is just best described, any steam engine is a kettle on wheels. All it's doing is boiling water all day long. And when you've used up some of the water in the boiler, this will naturally start to come down. To replenish the water in there, you have a water valve down by your right knee and another one here. You turn the water valves on and it allows the water, which is cold in the tender and unpressurised, to come forward to beneath this floor where there's what's called an injector. So that fills with cold water. And the first clue you have is the water will just cascade out onto the track. When you're convinced the injector body is full of cold water, you open this steam valve and you hit it with steam from the boiler at 220 pounds per square inch, and it forces that cold water down a one-way valve. So it goes into the boiler and replenishes it. When you've got the water back to where you want it to be, steam off first, then water off, job to goodness. At the moment in the tender we've got about 4,700 gallons of water in a big tank which is under that coal. Now how far do you reckon you can go on that amount of water in distance, miles?
Say 100 miles.
100 miles, good guess but wrong.
I would say less, maybe 50.
200.
300.
300. You're the nearest.
Oh really?
Around about 60 miles you need to replenish the water.
It was based on the water tank at the other end. It was an
Fair
assumption.
enough. So there were two ways of replenishing the water. One, if you were on a stopping train, you would stop at the end of the platform and that arm would come out with a hose and you'd refill the tender. If you were on a non-stop run, like London to Edinburgh, you couldn't do that if you were non-stop. So behind you is a handle with water scoop marked on it. And what you used to have, about every 50 miles in the track, there would be a water trough, 6 inches deep, quarter of a mile long, full of water. You drop the trough in it, and in that quarter mile you can pick up 4,000 gallons of water as you go over it. And if you look at the old films on Facebook or whatever, you see all the water washing over the first coach. That's because the tender's now full and he hasn't shut it off quick enough, so it's still scooping water up, throwing it out the top. So if you knew back in the day, you never travelled in the first coach, because if you've got the windows open, you've suddenly got this deluge of water. So the fireman's job is threefold. One, keep the fire alight by throwing coal in there, and this fire hole deal, this horizontal bar, that pivots underneath, so you have to fire under the flap as it's called. So he would put his shovel in the back, get a shovel of coal, throw it under the flap, and this ring here at the bottom has a protector ring on it which is designed to be chipped away slowly. So the good fireman with his shovel, without too much coal on it because the weight tips it down, would hit the ring at the bottom, and the act of hitting the ring would throw the coal all the way to the front. So he wouldn't be doing that, he would go bang, bang, and hit the ring. Then he's got to tuck it in the corner at the back and fill up the middle as well. When I picked this loco up last Thursday at Peterborough, because I brought it in as a guide man for their crew driving it, the fire was literally right up to here, and they didn't put any coal on at all to come from Peterborough main line to our yard, because they'd used 4 tons of coal between York and Peterborough. Yeah. So a steam engine is very romantic, very inefficient, and dirty and hard work. No wonder British Rail said, oh, we'll have diesels. Turn the heat, start the engine and away you go. And I drive diesels as well, and it's the same. My day starts here when I'm on duty day, 5 o'clock in the morning, my alarm goes off at 3 in the morning. Diesel, I start at 8 o'clock, turn the key and I'm ready to move at 15:15. Piece of cake. 73, I'm getting beyond all this shoveling rubbish. But it's good fun. Right, you now know as much as I do about the Flying Scotsman. You are invited, if you want to go down the tunnel, which is how they will change crew.
We'll let these guys go first now.
All I would say is, as you get in there, there's something that's going to hit your hip. Be careful of that. Duck your head down, and when you get to the far end, you'll turn hard right, and then there's some steps down. Keep your head down, keep your feet firm, and just take your time going through there.
Okay.
And if you think it's difficult stationary, just imagine the crew were doing it at 60 miles an hour or more.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
Okay.
good stuff.
thank you very much.
Thanks very
Right.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If it was still up the tool, would it go down, say, 300 or 400 miles? Would it totally...
If you had a fully full tender of coal, 11, 12 tons, you do London to Edinburgh non-stop. You wouldn't have much left at the end. Yeah, it would get you to Edinburgh. Good to meet you all.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Right on board. Yeah. Breathe in a bit.
It's too wide, you'll be job getting through in, mate. It's a bit of a job for you. I'll stand that way. And you do that 4 foot high.
It broke down and then... It took 24 hours for it to get out of the heat, and only this morning was the only time they've just got it fired up.